of class today for a training. So I'm going to try to show you how to solve a quadratic a fourth way, and this way is called solving by square roots. I've got 6 examples I'm going to run through here, and then I've got some practice for you guys to do with answers, so that way you can make sure you're getting the right answer. You're not focusing on the answer, you're focusing on the solution. I'm going to do this a little quickly, not at the speed of light, but a little quickly, because you can pause this video, you can rewind, you can fast forward, and you do not need to watch every example. If a couple of people in each group feel like they understand, you guys are more than welcome to pause the video and then try some of these on your own. And if things are going well, great. If not, you can always come back to this video, watch some more examples. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first one I'm going to work is number 12. It says 5. Let me get my pen. It says 5 x squared equals 80. First thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by 5. So now I know that x squared equals 5 goes into 80 16 times. So now I take the square root of both sides. And so x comes out to be, now watch this, because I'm evaluating a quadratic, I have to do the plus and minus case. So this is going to be plus and minus 4. Okay? So it's pretty much that simple. That is the answer to the first one. Now let's work the second one. We've got x squared minus 4 equals 0. Sorry, gripped my pen a little bit too hard, so it erased a little bit. So that's x squared minus 4 equals 0. I'm going to move the 4 to the opposite side by addition. So I'm going to add 4 over here. So this is now gone. So now I know that x squared equals 4. Again, I take the square root of both sides. And I get x, excuse me, let me erase that. I get x equals, again, we have to consider the plus and minus case, plus minus 2. Okay? Working the third example, I've got 2x squared equals 32. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 because I need to isolate my x squared. So x squared equals 16. And since this example matches number 12 over here, after we take the square root of both sides, we should know already that we're going to get x equals plus minus 4. Now, before I move on, I want you to notice something. The first thing I've done in each case is I've isolated my x squared. I had to divide by 5 here. I had to add 4 here. And then over here I had to divide by 2. Each time I got my x squared by itself before I tried to solve it or before I had to take a square root. So notice that before you start these on your own. So I'm going to erase all this work. All right, next is number 15. So I get 9x squared equals 25. This is a good example because it doesn't work out nice and pretty necessarily. I need to divide both sides by 9. So I can get rid of that. So x squared is 25 over 9. Again, even though this is a fraction, I still do the same thing. I take the square root of both sides. So x comes out to be, now hopefully this looks familiar from last week where we practiced taking roots. That's the reason we practiced that. This is going to be the square root of 25 over the square root of 9, which, lucky for me, works out nice and pretty, and I get 5 over 9. Oh, forgot one thing. I need my plus minus. Okay, so x is positive or negative 5 over 9. Next example, 16. I have 3x squared minus 15 equals 0. I'm going to move the 15 over by adding it. So I get 3x squared equals 15. I now have to divide by 3. So x squared comes out to be 5. Take the square root of both sides. And x comes out to be plus or minus the square root of 5. Now, before I move on to the last example, I want to explain this. When I got this square root right here, I thought to myself, what's the biggest perfect square that goes into it? So I divided by 4, and that didn't work. And then I divided by 1, but that doesn't help me, because 5 divided by 1 is 5. So this square root does not simplify, so I simply just leave it what it is, okay? Last one, I've got 5x squared minus 40 equals 0. I'm going to move the 40 over by adding it. Then I'm going to divide by 5. So x squared comes out to be 8. Take the square root of both sides. And this square root will simplify because 8 equals 4 times 2. So x is equal to plus minus square root of 4 is 2, and then I leave the 2 inside the square root. So there you go. There's 6 solid examples of solving quadratics by finding square roots. I now have a practice page for you with answers because I want you focused on the solution. I want you to work each question until you can do them successfully. You're more than welcome to work in groups, work off your peers. I don't know how long this will take you. It's quite a few questions, so it could take you the rest of class. But I don't really think that it will because you guys are a really good group. So I hope today goes well. Tomorrow you'll have a short quiz where part of it will be group and then part of it will be individual. So I'm trusting that you guys, when you get to the individual part, you will do it individually. But I want you to do the group part first because I hope that reminds you of a few things, gives you some examples to go off of, and kind of builds up your confidence before you do the individual part. So I've missed you guys, and so I will see you guys on Monday.